Black girl asks Steph Curry for sneakers. What he does next leaves her crying tears of joy. In Oakland, a 12-year-old girl with worn-out sneakers writes a letter to Steph Curry. No money, no connections, just courage. What started as a simple request for a pair of shoes turns into a moment that moves an entire community. The late afternoon sun was setting over the city of Oakland, California, casting elongated shadows across the worn basketball court of Brookfield Community Park. The rhythmic noise of a ball bouncing against the cracked asphalt echoed through the almost empty environment. Jasmine Taylor, a 12-year-old black girl with carefully arranged braids and determined eyes, practiced shots with a concentration that seemed out of place for someone so young. "Do you still have energy for a few more shots, Jazzy?" asked Coach Marcus, a man in his early 40s who dedicated his afternoons to helping neighborhood children. "Always, Coach," Jasmine responded with a smile, although fatigue was beginning to weigh on her shoulders. As Jasmine positioned herself for another shot, Marcus discreetly looked at her sneakers. They were so worn that the sole slightly detached with each movement. Those shoes were at least 2 years old and had been purchased at a second-hand store. Even so, Jasmine never complained. At 6:30 in the evening, Denise Taylor arrived at the court after her first shift as a nursing assistant. She was still wearing her hospital uniform and looked exhausted, but her face lit up when she saw her daughter playing. "Let's go, honey. I have to change before the night shift at the diner," Denise called. In the small 2-bedroom apartment they shared in the East Oakland neighborhood, Jasmine helped her mother prepare a quick dinner before Denise left for her second job. "Did you see, Mom? The Warriors play tomorrow. Can I watch at Mrs. Johnson's house?" asked Jasmine, referring to the elderly neighbor who allowed her to watch games on her television. "Of course, honey, but don't come back too late. And have you finished your homework?" "Almost done," replied Jasmine, stirring her instant noodles without much enthusiasm. "Mom, Tanya got new sneakers yesterday. They're from the Curry line. Do you think I could have a pair like that someday?" Denise sighed, feeling the familiar weight of helplessness. "Jasmine, you know I'd really like to buy those sneakers for you, but they cost almost $200. Right now, we need to prioritize rent and bills, but I'm saving a little each month. Maybe for your birthday." Jasmine nodded, understanding beyond her years. "I know, Mom. Don't worry." Later that night, while Denise worked, Jasmine was sitting at the small desk in her room, finishing an essay for school. Her cell phone, an old model that had been her mother's, vibrated with a notification. It was a message from her friend Darius in the community basketball program group. "Did you guys see? Steph Curry will be in Oakland next month. Charity event at Oakland Technical High School." Jasmine felt her heart race. Steph Curry was more than her favorite player. He was her idol, her inspiration. Not just for his extraordinary basketball skills, but for how he behaved off the court, for his unwavering faith and generosity to underprivileged communities like hers. She clicked on the news link, devouring every word about the event. Curry would be participating in a fundraiser for sports programs in Oakland Public Schools, the city that had adopted him during his years as a Warriors star. Looking at her worn sneakers in the corner of the room, an idea began to form in Jasmine's mind. It was a 1-in-a-million chance, absurd even, but something inside her said it was worth trying. She grabbed a sheet of paper and began to write in her most careful handwriting, "Dear Steph Curry." As she wrote, discreet tears rolled down her face, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of hope, that pure and innocent hope that only children can maintain even in the face of the greatest adversities. Through the window of the small apartment, the distant lights of downtown Oakland twinkled like earthly stars, reminding Jasmine that dreams, no matter how unlikely, are like those lights. Distant, but definitely real. The letter remained hidden under Jasmine's mattress for 3 days. Each night, she reviewed it, adding details, worried if her words would truly convey what she felt. On the 4th night, she finally decided it was ready. Dear Steph Curry, my name is Jasmine Taylor. I'm 12 years old, and I live in Oakland. First, I want to say that you are my biggest idol, not just for basketball, but for who you are. I watch all your games on Mrs. Johnson's TV, my neighbor, because we don't have cable TV at home. I play basketball in Coach Marcus's community program at Brookfield Park. He says I have natural talent, especially for three-point shots. I try to imitate your style. I train every day after school, even when it rains and the court gets slippery. My mother's name is Denise, and she works as a nursing assistant during the day and at a diner at night. She's amazing and does everything for me, but things are financially difficult. I try to help by doing small jobs for neighbors on weekends. Mr. Curry, I've been using the same pair of sneakers for 2 years. They're tearing on the sides, and the sole is coming off. I dream of having shoes from your line, not just because they're amazing, but because it would be like having a piece of your strength and determination with me on the court. I know you receive thousands of requests and don't really expect you to read this letter, but I learned from you that faith moves mountains and that we should always try, no matter the odds. Thank you for being an inspiration to kids like me in Oakland. One day, I hope to be able to help my community just as you do. With admiration, Jasmine Taylor. The next day, during practice, Jasmine showed the letter to Coach Marcus. "It's perfect, Jazzy," he said after reading, disguising the emotion in his voice. "You know, my old college friend, Leon, works for the organization that's promoting Curry's event. I can see if he helps deliver your letter." Jasmine's eyes widened. "Really, Coach? Would you do that?" "I don't promise anything," Marcus warned, not wanting to create false hopes. "But I'll try." Over the next 2 weeks, Jasmine saved every penny she could, making deliveries for Mr. Patel's grocery store and helping Mrs. Johnson with her plants. She gathered almost $28, an amount far from what was needed to buy the sneakers of her dreams, but one that demonstrated her determination. On a Friday afternoon, Coach Marcus called Jasmine after practice. "Leon got a pass for the event," he said, handing her a small envelope. "It's just for the outside area, not for the personal meeting with Curry. But you can give your letter to the organization staff. I don't guarantee it will reach him, but—" "It's more chance than I had before," exclaimed Jasmine, hugging the coach tightly. "Thank you, Coach. Even if nothing happens, just trying was worth it." The day of the event arrived, and Denise managed to switch her shift to accompany her daughter. The courtyard of Oakland Technical High School was packed, with hundreds of people waiting to glimpse the basketball star. Jasmine pressed the letter against her chest, fearful it would wrinkle. When Curry finally arrived, the crowd erupted in applause. He waved, smiled, and spoke briefly about the importance of sports programs in public schools. From a distance, Jasmine watched, hypnotized by her idol's presence. After the speech, as Curry was being led to the VIP area, Jasmine and Denise approached a woman with an organization badge. "Excuse me," Jasmine said timidly. "Could you deliver this letter to Mr. Curry? It's very important." The woman looked at the letter and at Jasmine's hopeful face. "We receive many letters, dear. I can't promise he'll see it, but I'll put it in his pile," she responded kindly, taking the envelope. On the way back home, Denise noticed her daughter's silence. Are you disappointed? A little, admitted Jasmine. But at least I tried. As you always say, faith isn't believing God can, it's knowing He will. Denise smiled, proud of her daughter's wisdom. Exactly. And regardless of what happens with that letter, your effort and courage are already a victory. That night, Jasmine fell asleep thinking about Steph Curry reading her words, imagining a world where miracles happened for girls like her. It wasn't just about sneakers. It was about being seen, about someone she admired recognizing her existence, her dreams, and her struggles. Weeks passed without a response, and gradually, Jasmine's hope began to diminish. But she continued training with the same determination as always, never mentioning the letter or the sneakers again. Life had to go on, after all. Almost a month had passed since the event, and Jasmine's life resumed its normal rhythm. Mornings at school, afternoons on the court, and evenings studying while waiting for her mother to return from work. The letter to Steph Curry became just a sweet memory, a story to tell years later about childhood dreams. It was a particularly hot Wednesday in Oakland. Summer was approaching, and the sun mercilessly punished the asphalt of the court at Brookfield. Coach Marcus had announced that a small community tournament would happen next month, and the practices were more intense. "Come on, people! Tighter defense!" Marcus shouted, as the youngsters ran from one side of the court to the other. "Jasmine, good move! Now, shoot!" Jasmine dribbled past her defender and jumped for a shot, but felt her right sneaker practically disintegrate on landing. The sole had detached almost completely. "Coach, I need to stop," she said, embarrassed, showing the sneaker. Marcus sighed. "All right, sit down for a bit. We'll improvise something with duct tape so you can finish practice." While sitting on the side of the court, Jasmine noticed unusual movement near the parking lot. 2 black SUVs had parked, and people with professional filming equipment were beginning to position themselves discreetly. She frowned, curious, but her attention was quickly diverted by Coach Marcus returning with duct tape. "What's happening over there, Coach?" she asked as he wrapped the tape around her sneaker. "I have no idea," replied Marcus, although a slight smile played on his lips. "Probably some filming for the city hall about community programs. Come on, is it good enough to finish practice?" Jasmine tested the patched-up sneaker. "It'll do." "Thank you." The practice continued for another 20 minutes, until a buzz began among the youngsters. A tall, slender man had entered the court area, accompanied by a small entourage. Jasmine was so focused on her dribbling exercise that she only noticed when she heard Darius shout, "It's Steph Curry! Man, it's really him!" The ball escaped from Jasmine's hands and rolled slowly across the court as she turned, incredulous. A few meters from her, smiling and waving to the astonished children, was Steph Curry. Not on a TV screen, not on a poster, but there, in flesh and blood, on her worn community court in East Oakland. Time seemed to freeze. The children were paralyzed for a moment before exploding into screams and runs toward the star. Coach Marcus tried to maintain some order, but was visibly moved as well. "Hey guys, how's practice going?" asked Curry, with the same simplicity as someone asking about the weather. The children bombarded Steph with questions and requests for autographs. He responded with patience and genuine interest, taking selfies and distributing high fives. Jasmine remained at a distance, trembling slightly, unable to believe it was real. After a few minutes, Curry raised his hands, asking for silence. "Actually, I'm here for a specific reason today," he said, and the court fell completely silent. "I received a very special letter a few weeks ago. A letter that really touched me. Jasmine's heart leaped. It wasn't possible. The letter was from someone named Jasmine Taylor, continued Curry, looking around. Is she here today? Jasmine's legs were shaking so much she could barely move. Darius and other friends looked at her, mouth agape, and began pointing. There, Mr. Curry! It's her! All eyes turned to Jasmine, who remained paralyzed, with wide eyes and mouth slightly open in shock. Steph Curry smiled and walked towards her, reducing the distance between one of the world's greatest basketball stars and a 12-year-old girl from a poor Oakland neighborhood. Hello, Jasmine, he said, extending his hand. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Silent tears began to stream down Jasmine's face as she shook her idol's hand, unable to form words. Your letter was one of the most sincere and touching things I've ever read, continued Curry. Do you mind if we talk a bit in private? Jasmine managed only to nod affirmatively, still unable to find her voice. Coach Marcus approached, placing his hand on her shoulder in a comforting way. Let's give them some space, folks, Marcus said to the other children, guiding them away, although they all still watched open-mouthed. Curry led Jasmine to a bench on the side of the court, where she finally found the courage to speak, even if with a trembling voice. I can't believe you read my letter. Curry's warm smile lit up his face. Not only did I read it, but I wanted to personally meet the amazing girl who wrote it. Seated on the worn bench of the community court, under the curious and envious gazes of the other children, Jasmine finally managed to control her emotions enough to converse. Your letter arrived at a time when I needed to be reminded of why I do what I do, explained Curry. You talked about persistence, about training even when it rains, about helping your mother and your community. That touched me deeply. I wrote everything from the heart, replied Jasmine, still not believing the situation. It shows, smiled Curry. And speaking of which, he made a gesture, and one of the assistants approached, carrying several boxes. I brought some things for you. The assistant placed the boxes between them on the bench. Curry took the first one and handed it to Jasmine. Open it, he encouraged. With trembling hands, Jasmine opened the box. Inside was a pair of Curry 9 shoes, the latest model in the line, in a vibrant blue and gold tone with personalized details. She gasped. They're beautiful, she whispered, touching the material as if it were sacred. I tried to guess your size from your age, but I brought different sizes just in case, explained Curry, indicating the other boxes. And I also brought some different models. So, you have options. Jasmine carefully removed the sneakers from the box and placed them on the ground. She took off her duct-taped sneaker, revealing socks with small holes that she tried to hide, embarrassed. When she put on the new shoe, it was as if she were floating. Perfect, she murmured, standing up to test them. How does it feel? Asked Curry. Like I could fly, responded Jasmine, taking a few steps, still in disbelief. But wait, there's more, said Steph, standing up. He made a signal, and more people approached, including a woman with a blazer who seemed to be from the Warriors' administrative team. Jasmine, this is Monica Lewis, director of the Warriors Community Foundation, introduced Curry. After reading your letter, I talked with her about Brookfield Park. Monica extended her hand to Jasmine. It's a pleasure to meet you, Jasmine. Steph was really impressed with your determination and spirit. We decided that your community court needs a complete renovation, explained Curry, gesturing to the space around them. New hoops, new surface, proper lighting for night practices. Jasmine looked around, trying to imagine the court completely renovated. For all of us? Exactly, confirmed Monica. And more. We are offering full scholarships for 5 youngsters from Coach Marcus's program to participate in the Curry Foundation's summer camp. Coach Marcus, who had approached to hear the conversation, let out an exclamation of surprise. This is extraordinary. Our young people have never had an opportunity like this. Curry turned to him. Marcus, Leon told me about your dedicated work here. People like you are true community heroes. The foundation wants to support your program with equipment, uniforms, and resources for the next 3 years. Marcus was speechless, his eyes watery. Jasmine observed everything as if in a dream, tears now flowing freely down her face. Why? She finally asked. Why do all this because of my letter? Curry knelt to be at the same level as her eyes, his expression serious and sincere. Because your letter reminded me of the power of hope. You didn't ask for charity. You shared your dream, your struggle, and your determination. That deserves to be recognized. He paused. You know, when I was young, many doubted me because of my size. But I had people who believed and invested in me. Now, I can do the same for others. The words reverberated deeply in Jasmine. She understood that moment wasn't just about expensive sneakers or meeting her idol. It was about being seen, about having her worth recognized. Oh, and one more thing, added Curry with a mischievous smile. I've reserved seats for you, your mother, and Coach Marcus at Friday's game against the Lakers. How about trying out your new sneakers in the front row seats? Jasmine's eyes widened even more. Front row? And a backstage tour before the game, he added, winking. At that moment, Denise arrived running to the E2 court, still wearing her nursing assistant uniform. Leon had contacted her urgently at work. Seeing Curry talking with her daughter, she stopped abruptly, with her hand over her mouth. Mrs. Taylor, called Curry, waving for her to approach. Your daughter is truly extraordinary. While Curry explained everything to Denise, whose tears soon joined her daughter's, Jasmine observed the scene with an indescribable feeling of gratitude. The community court, once just a piece of cracked concrete in a forgotten neighborhood, now seemed to shine with possibilities. 3 months later, the renovated Brookfield Park Court was inaugurated with a ceremony that attracted local media attention. The blue and gold floor in the Warriors' colors gleamed under new reflectors. The professional hoops had impeccable nets. Electronic scoreboards and comfortable benches completed the transformation. Jasmine, now one of the assistant monitors of Coach Marcus's expanded community program, helped younger children with basic exercises. Her Curry 9 sneakers already showed signs of intensive use, not due to material wear, but from constant use in daily practices. The 5 scholarships for the Curry camp had been distributed, with Jasmine being one of the recipients. The 2-week experience training with professional coaches had elevated her game to a new level. Local universities were already starting to pay attention to the talent emerging from East Oakland. Denise managed to reduce her workload, leaving the diner job to dedicate more time to her training as a full nurse, thanks to a scholarship that Jasmine had encouraged her to seek, inspired by her own recent experience. On the mural of the renovated court, a discreet plaque told the story of how a sincere letter from a determined girl had transformed not only her life, but an entire community. Next to the plaque, in a protected glass box, was Jasmine's original pair of worn sneakers, a reminder that the journey matters as much as the destination. In a corner of the mural, a quote in golden letters summarized the lesson learned by all. Faith is not simply believing that God can. It's knowing that He will. On the afternoon of the inauguration, as the children played animatedly on the new court, Jasmine stepped away for a moment, looking at the clear Oakland sky. She thought about how a simple letter, written with sincerity and hope, had triggered a wave of transformation that would continue far beyond that moment. Her new sneakers, firmly tied to her feet, represented much more than a gift from a basketball star. They were symbols of possibility, of dreams realized, and the certainty that, sometimes, when we least expect it, life surprises us with blessings that go far beyond what we dare to ask for. And that, Jasmine knew, was a miracle as real as the solid ground beneath her feet.